Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by, well, I don't know what to say, Grid Network's fearless leader, and also, I guess I could call you my boss, Joe Samaniego, of course, the creator of Grid Network. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. So I gotta ask you. I mean, I was a part of the Rolex show, and of course, I know the second greatest day in Grid Network history, according to our colleague Ben Schneider, happened last night on Grid Tonight with the whole Chastain Melon Hail Melon move. But of course, I'm glad to be part of the greatest day in Grid Network history at the Rolex show. Just overall, how have you kind of seen Grid grow in the last, really the last few weeks?
The last few weeks have been phenomenal. I know the pre-race show, it still almost feels surreal just waking up about 40 minutes before getting on the air, getting everything ready, and then 20 minutes before they're on the air, seeing like, okay, there's some folks waiting. And then I think I sent everyone a message like 10 minutes out, like, there's 20 people waiting for us to get on the air. And then just as we're reporting, Kobe did a phenomenal job just preparing everything for this show. We went together really great, the three of us on the air. I think it was the first time the three of us were all on the air at the same time working together.
Yep.
We may have done a grid encore, you and I, for I think after Portland, but that was it. And just seeing the engagement and folks are excited for sports cars. And I think IMSA, we saw the numbers that they had a ratings jump on TV.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of excitement with this new hypercar class GTP. Of course, WEC, when they start up, it's going to be a really fun year. And it was just phenomenal to see folks coming, thanking us on the air for this coverage. Because, like, I know in a few weeks we got the Super Bowl, you're going to have pre-game coverage like from 6 a.m. up to the game time. A little bit hard to find out for sports cars. So we were just really thrilled that folks were enjoying what we were providing them, getting them hyped up for the race, and then 24 hours later, wrapping it all up with the wrap-up show.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah, it should be a fun year because I know we got some pretty big races coming up in the next few months. Of course, this weekend with the LA Clash, and then we got the Daytona 500, and then of course we got the 12 Hours of Sebring in a couple months, and then of course we got the Indianapolis 500, and of course the probably the big one on the WEC side of things, of course, is the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So yeah, a lot of big races coming up. So stay tuned. So let's talk about that Rolex 24 for a second. How do you think it went? Because I think the biggest storyline was just the reliability of cars and everything there. And we did see a little bit of that, but we also saw, really cars performed, and the Acuras really, I think, stood out to me.
Yeah, I know. We talked a little bit about this, how with the Acras, Wayne Taylor Racing, Meyer Shank Racing, they know how to get it done. And one of the things that really just stood out was they were really up there fighting. When it came to Cadillac, I think it just felt like, okay, I found it really interesting later in the race. They were saying how the Cadillacs were better with the colder tires, I believe. So the Acras were really trying to get some distance from them. I thought it just worked out great where we had some great racing all around. The mechanical reliability issue, it seems like BMW was the one that sort of struggled a bit more. It's like, okay, we sort of anticipated that. We talked a little bit about that on the pre-race show. But overall, I thought it was a really great race. And for especially so many people that may have been tuning in for the first time, I thought they had a really great race overall that they could enjoy with GTP. LMP2, that was a really good race, especially everyone's talking about that finish. What a phenomenal finish. And then the action we saw with GTD and GTB Pro. Overall, I would say if you were tuning in for the first time, I think you left happy. You saw a lot of good racing. Yes, we had the full course cautions, which of course brought everyone back together.
Yeah.
But that's just part of racing where at the end, I think overall, compared to, I think it was last year, the year before, there was some controversy, some added time or something like that.
Yeah.
This year, it was just good racing all around. A great introduction for this new hypercar GTP. And I just really just excited about how the race played out, what became of it. And I think it's going to go down as one of the more memorables in a lot of good ways.
Yeah.
Great Rolex 24 hours.
For sure. Yeah, it was just a fun class overall, and it just obviously, five classes of cars, people to track on there. So, grateful to have, hey, we even had Calvin Fish appear on the pre-race show to help us explain that. And by the way, I also want to thank NBC for helping me out with in setting that up as well. So really appreciate the folks at NBC Sports for helping me to get that interview with Calvin. So let's kind of talk about what to expect. We got this weekend. We got the 12 hours of Bathurst in Australia. What are we going to expect there?
Oh man, that race, it almost seems to be in a ways a bit more unpredictable than the Bathurst 1000, which of course a lot of supercar fans love that race. That's just as unpredictable. Already I'm seeing the clips highlighting some of the unpredictable natures of the race, from the tree that fell, the kangaroo on the track, and the competition. Wow. I think it's going to be a really competitive race. I'm not anticipating any clear cut favorites, but overall, I think it's going to be a really exciting race. We're looking forward to previewing that Saturday, and then just again another endurance car race at such a track with the elevation changes, skyline. Just getting to see more and more Mount Panorama getting more international attention, I feel has been really great, especially with some of the video games. Like I believe it's on Gran Turismo now. I think a lot of times, especially like if you remember before Speed Channel, Speed Vision, very few people know about Mount Panorama. Now it's become one of those tracks I feel people around the world are learning through it. And this race, I think, is going to be really exciting, especially if anyone's brand new to sports car racing and they picked up, oh, there's another one, the 12 hours of Bathurst, and they see this track. It just has to feel like almost a dream if you're a through sports car enthusiast. Like, wow, this is a fun 2 weeks coming up.
Ooh, I might have to come. I might have to come on Grid Live this weekend. So, of course, we got the LA Clash as well with NASCAR. Getting excited. They're racing in a stadium for the second time. Jeff Gluck from the Athletic was on my channel to preview that, and of course, you can check that out as well. But overall, how excited are you to have the? I know the official season, of course, starts in Daytona, but you get a little taste this weekend of what to expect in 2023 with the Cup Series.
Yeah, this is just, I think, has worked out to where it really has revived the Clash from the last few years in Daytona. People are questioning, do we really need the Clash? To now where this is just a great, we're back, we're in LA, we're in a stadium. This is not your traditional race. This is a spectacle. I know last year we had a friend come over that never seen NASCAR before. He got hooked on it. He was like, okay, so when's the next race? It's called the Daytona 500. Came out, enjoyed it. I feel this is just a great way to introduce people that don't follow NASCAR, or maybe, oh, I've heard of NASCAR. Maybe I saw it a few years ago. Check this out. Good opportunity to just introduce to new fans, reintroduce it to fans, especially 75 years from NASCAR. This is going to be a huge year. I still remember the 50th year, how there was a lot of special programs, special paint schemes, a lot of ceremonies. This is just a wonderful way to kick off the season with so much excitement, so much hype for this event. And overall, I feel the Clash, I anticipate we're going to have an entertaining show. It's a little later Sunday, might be a little bit under the lights, maybe more sunset. I anticipate we're going to see more sparks flying, say it that way. People will be talking and getting really excited for the Daytona 500, which I think this is just the perfect way to get folks interested in the Daytona 500 rather than something at Daytona where, it ran its course. If you're a true NASCAR fan, you watched the Clash where it was at Daytona. But now with this event, how it's grown in LA, I think this is really a great way to get the new fan, the casual fan, into NASCAR and excited for the Daytona 500.
Absolutely, yeah. It's should be a fun weekend for sure. I'll be watching Bathurst though, and I'll be watching the LA Clash as well. So it's definitely going to be fun. Of course, my portion of the season starts, of course. So, obviously in 2 weeks, the Xfinity trucks and ARCA and the Encore show will be back going again. So I'll be excited about that. So should be a fun few weeks for sure. What are you most looking forward to the rest of the motorsports season, Joe?
Overall, I think I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with F1, how that's going to develop with second year for this new car. The Supercar series, they also have a new car as well too. So it'll be really interesting. Shane Van Gisbergen, who's just dominated that series really since Penske and Scott McLaughlin left. Will he have some more competition, including his now second year teammate? I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Be really interesting to see that. MotoGP, a sprint race every race weekend. I'm on the fence for that. I know Joshua has shared his opinion. I feel like that's a lot of races to cover for MotoGP, but overall, I think with Pecco Bagnaia being the defending champion, Nia Bastianini, now his teammate, those two I think are going to really have a good battle. Can Yamaha have a better bike or Fabio Quartararo? And there's some going to be really great races. I feel MotoGP is one of those series where if you see some good racing there, you're going to get hooked easily. I think Phillip Island over in Australia was a good example where folks, they tuned in, they were hooked on that race. It wasn't until the last lap you knew who was going to win that race. Coming out of the last corner, really, Marquez had a bit of a draft on Alex Rins, who got the win. So overall, those are some big events. And then, of course, IndyCar, that's going to be a lot of fun. And then the race weekend in Portland this year, we're going to have NASCAR first weekend of June. Then we're going to have Formula E 2 weekends afterwards.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the IndyCar Portland Grand Prix. It's just amazing where Portland has almost become like this racing hub of the Northwest.
Yeah.
Really excited for everyone here at the Grid Network. And of course, hopeful to, I know Ben's planning to come out. Joshua's been talking about coming out. We'll love to have him come out for the Formula E race. And then if anybody wants to come out for the IndyCar race, I mean, we're not far from the Speedway. And very exciting year. The grid ranking, I'm really curious to see who's going to take that. If Shane Van Gisbergen is just as dominant, maybe we'll see. I think it was 2 years ago where we saw several different leaders, and then this year it was just really, 2022 it was just Scott McLaughlin the first week, and then Shane Van Gisbergen just led every week afterwards. So it'll be really fun. Looking forward to that and the new Grid Endurance Performance Index. A lot to be excited about, and then our website will be doing more updating throughout the year. So fantastic 2023 motorsport season. And I'm just cannot wait for Sunday mornings. I remember Kobe said, well, I'm going to miss sleeping in. 5 a.m., I'll be up watching whether it's MotoGP, F1. I'm going to be up.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. And of course, you got on top of all the races I'm going to be at. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty fun year for us. So it should be exciting there. So let me ask you this: you talking about, you mentioned MotoGP, you mentioned WEC. We haven't talked about that yet. What are we going to expect there? Because there's going to be some crossover between those two series.
That's why I'm really excited, especially it was the O2 that's going to be going over there. They did Daytona. So now they're going to have, I think they're going to have an advantage at Sebring because now they know what to expect under race conditions with that car, the bumps, Ganassis. They have notes on it. I think there have to be an early favorite for Sebring. Then as we go through the rest of the season, I think that's where potentially you're going to see some of the other teams catch up. I think we will see over the long run some of the mechanical reliability issues that some folks were anticipating Daytona. They'll probably start showing their head a little later on in the season as things get more worn, the cars get more broken into. And 24 Hours of Le Mans, I think it's going to be a really exciting time where I think now this is where people are going to start realizing, hey, there's something special going on in sports car with this hypercar, WEC, IMSA. I think as the interest grows with drivers too, if we start hearing more of a driver from IndyCar is going to do, another IMSA race and then announce that they're going to do some WEC races. I know we've heard Roman Grosjean. He said if the IndyCar schedule will allow him, he'll love to do the 24 Hours of Le Mans. I would not be surprised if we then, that could be another thing that would be really exciting if we see IndyCar. Supercars traditionally have done this as well, where the weekend of 24 Hours of Le Mans, it's an off weekend, then that's going to be a huge race. So overall, I think it's going to be really exciting then for folks they got a taste of sports car racing with IMSA this past weekend. Check out WEC. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just seeing that familiarity of some of the cars like that O2 could really be a good crossover where that's your favorite team. They're racing around the world. your driver could be driving different series. It's gonna be really exciting. It'll be like what a lot of people compared to like back in the '60s, where you had AJ Floyd going IndyCar, Daytona, all over the place. And I think that'll be really good for the entire motorsports community, where you have drivers doing that crossover more and more.
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, Scott Huffaker will be our endurance exclusive driver. So he's actually going to be talking with us before each of the four IMSA races. He's also going to be doing the WEC season as well. So he'll check in with us for those four endurance races at Sebring, Watkins Glen, and Petit Le Mans. So that'll be exciting there. We got some other exclusive announcements for my channel as well. And then you might see, you never know, you might just see some of them on here on Grid. So you never know. All right. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. And best of, why don't you just tell us what we got going on this weekend?
Well, this weekend, of course, we're gonna have our women motorsports show. We're gonna recap the Iron Wings. I know we had Catherine Legg, Sheena Monk. They all did the Rolex 24 hours. But then, of course, the Michelin Pilot Challenge, where you had Haley Deegan in there. A lot to recap with that, along with Formula 4 UAE action, and then preview some of the upcoming races. Then, of course, Saturday, we're going to preview the Bathurst 12 hours. We're going to preview the Busch Light Clash at the Coliseum. We'll wrap it all up on Monday, just because of the late start of the race being in the West Coast. So we're going to have that. We just got that weekend where there's this big football game going on, but then after that, we got the Daytona 500 coming up. So of course we'll be having a special pre-race show on the morning of the Daytona 500 on the Grid Network, and then of course Grid Encore. You're all going to be back as well too.
Yeah,
You've been really excited to see you all back on the air on Monday evenings, and then it's just sort of the full swing of the next. Overall, we covered like over 180 races at the Grid
yeah.
Network, and we're back in the full swing. It's just going to be very exciting. Can't wait for it all.
Yep, Monday after the Super Bowl is our first encore. Hey, we were all on the Rolex show, so the four of us were on there, and we're all excited to be back. And you never know, there might be some new faces that join us this year as well. So stay tuned for that. Oh, did I maybe just drop something? I shouldn't have, but whatever. Joe, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Best of, and you're always welcome on here anytime.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. And thank you again. Really a lot of fun.